Okay, we are ready to get the show started. And our first act this evening is going to be the UBC Singing Ensemble.
Are we all going to be up here?
You might be Baptist, if you think God's presence is strongest on the back 3 pews. And now welcome to the stage, Susan Corbin from Journey IFC.
Thank you. These are a couple things I wrote in the past, and so I thought I'd bring them. So, the first one is called Creator's Reflection. And this actually came to me after we had done a prayer vigil, and we did a labyrinth in the middle of the room, and there was poetry and paintings and things like that through it. So after the labyrinth, I sat down and scribbled this out. So it's called Creator's Reflection. How magnificent it must be for God to have made a creation that chooses to love, chooses to share, chooses to care, chooses to embrace each other and the creative force. Humans carry this creative force within them, creating poetry, creating sculpture, creating music, recreating the creative force from which they came. And yet so static are our human creations, just a shadow of the creative force. So lovely and yet so small, so fixed and unchangeable, so beautiful and unable to choose, a reflection of the unfathomable creative force of the universe. Excuse me. So I said to Paula, yeah, I'll do this last Sunday, and then Monday evening started coming down with this cold. And so God has a funny sense of humor. Excuse me. So this one's called 4 a.m. It hit me at 4 a.m. in California when I was there for a conference. Mornings last a very long time when you wake up at 4 a.m. alone in a hotel room in the wrong time zone. The body says 6 a.m., time to get up. The clock says nowhere to go. What to do? Read a book, listen to music, love that iPod. Eat that emergency granola bar, write a poem. Mornings last a very long time, but it can be a glorious time alone in a hotel room in the right frame of mind. The last one is called God Spit and Adam. We are creatures of water and earth. Despite our modern ways, we still seek connections with both. Long, hot showers on a cold day, and colorful, fragrant flower bouquets. Trips to the blue-green ocean, and trips to the cool, snow-capped mountains. Walking in the gently lapping waves of a lake, and hiking through the deep quiet of a forest. Backyard swimming pools sparkling in the sun, and vegetable gardens brimming with growth. Softly gurgling dusk fountains and lush green houseplants. We seek connections with both, for we are creatures of water and earth.
You might be Baptist if your definition of fellowship includes food.
Yay!
Please welcome to the stage from the Congregational Church of Austin, Fran and Randy Briggs.
Fran said I was supposed to say something in between the songs so she could get her breath. But I'm not going to come back up here, so I'll say it on that. Then we'll just count to 12 or 14, 62 in between the songs. We have talent shows at the Congregational Church regularly, and that's our most undignified weekend of the whole year. But it definitely builds community, I will say that for it. I'm a recovering polka player, and Fran is a clarinetist who is in the process of restoration after getting her instrument off the closet after about 50 years. So this is what we're doing now.
I'm sorry.
Well,
This is my first public performance. Sorry,
Vic along just to make sure
As
everybody, our cheering team.
section.
That was the Irish jig. Now we're going to play paddywhack, another Irish jig.
All right, again.
Very patient. One more. Londonderry Air.
And now please welcome to the stage Gage and Ella Field Settle from University Baptist Church. Hooray!
Okay, I'd like to introduce to you Ella and Gage. We have a few cow jokes to share with you this evening. Okay? All right, you guys ready? What famous painting do cows like to look at?
What do you call a sleeping bull?
And what do cows like to put on their hot dog?
What does a cow drive when her car is broken?
And where do cows like to eat? Cafeteria.
Our final joke is, what do cows say at the birthday party?
Birthday to
Ice cream in the back. Thank you.
Who has to follow them?
You might be Baptist if you clapped in church and felt guilty about it for a week. And please welcome to the stage this evening from Journey IFC, the Melons.
We are the rampaging melons. I think, sometimes the rampage gets forgotten, but we should remember the rampaging. All right, so we decided that as we were walking in this afternoon, the kids and I decided that we needed appropriate stage names. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Canary, and this is my son Cantaloupe, Honeydew, and my daughter Cassava. And we are the rampaging melons. Okay, we're just like all right. Okay. Sing out, okay? We just got one more.
Okay.
Ready? Okay, no, we're singing back here. It's all good. Ready?
In case you're confused, we're going to sing Route 66.
Yes. No, it's fine. Okay, ready? Well, if you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, it goes through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty.
You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, Mexico.
Flagstaff, Arizona,
Don't forget the number.
and Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip? Make a that California trip. Put your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. Thank you. You just say thank you and you walk.
Thank you, that's what I was trying to say.
And if you have your order of performance, I'm not sure what to call this next performance, but it's from Bill Phillips from the Congregational Church of Austin. The mosquitoes committed suicide?
This is fine. I'm a congregational pastor, retired, United Church of Christ, and a former child of a military family that was stationed in the Panama Canal, and did part of my boyhood in 1939, 1940, 1941 in Panama, and was very familiar with the military presence. And my wife and I went back to Panama a few years ago. You may remember Casey Carter. He's a member of this church. And he is, some of Casey's friends. And Casey is in Panama right now.
No, he's
right here. Oh, you're right there. Coincidence. So, you will appreciate this, but I noticed when I was in Panama, Betty and I went back, and we had a fantastic experience and spent about over 5 years there. And I noticed when I went around to the military installations, most of them have their names removed and their fingerprints removed from just about everything that we had to do over there. And there's something called revisionist history that goes on over there. And the Panamanians have their own way of looking at our presence and what happened. And I noticed that Fort Davis is now just called Davis, or Davis, as they say in Panama. And Fort Sherman, where I spent some very strange years with jungle surrounding our house, is now Sherman. And it's being set up as a tourist attraction, I think. At the time I was there, there was a boa constrictor in my backyard, so it was very different. And I wrote a poem about the Panamanian way of seeing history. This is not a criticism, this is just my struggling to deal with the complexities of life. And I noticed in the Canal Museum that the old pictures of Teddy Roosevelt and so on have been taken down, and the new pictures of their presidents and so on are there, taking credit for much of the things that have happened. And this poem is called "The Mosquitoes Committed Suicide." Now, some of you have had fathers or grandfathers who took elocution when they were in high school. My father took elocution and was very good at it. I'm not very good at it, but this poem really requires elocution. So bear with me. When the gringo came to our fertile shore, there were no mosquitoes in Panama lore. Of course they were here, as some confess, but they just hung around in camouflage dress. At first some said it was a hygiene thing, You knew the French would illness bring. They don't take baths, and they killed their king. Then Americans rallied and sent their best, and hundreds more were put to rest. We'll build a canal, their president said, and damn the mosquitoes in full speed ahead. Or something like that, and more people were dead. They died with their boots on, the American way. But the mosquitoes kept coming to ruin their day. An American doctor declared war on that thing and showed battalions of people what equipment to bring. All credit was given to American science for teaching the people to have such reliance. As the gringos would have it, the mosquitoes all died, and the canal was built to the other side. But when it was time to put up a plaque, Jimmy Carter came down and gave everything back. So when you all ask, how did it go? We have Panama's version for you to know. It was the mosquito that triumphed in a strange sort of way. They were just following orders, we hear them now say. In a gesture of selfless insect defiance, the mosquito fought Panama's patience compliance. It was for Panama's good the mosquito had tried, and it was for Panama's future the mosquito had died. If you are ever asked about this on a test, this is the answer the people like best. It can all be blamed on this country's great pride that the mosquitoes committed mass suicide.
Well done.
And now from the sanctuary, please welcome to the stage, Bob Hyde.
I'm used to sitting down, and I made it standing up. So. Good for you, Bill. What? I said, good for you. Oh, okay. I promised my wife I'd play that by heart, and I've been working for a week and a half. She didn't think I should sing, so I guess you might have recognized that old John Peterson song. What's So the name of it? You'll find out when I sing it. I believe in miracles. I've seen a soul set free. Miraculous the change in one redeemed on Calvary. I've seen the lily push its way up through the stubborn soil. I believe in miracles, for
And now we have from Journey IFC, Paula Gilbert.
Before I begin, we have a lot of graphic artists in our congregation, and one of them designed the t-shirt that I'm wearing. So I am a walking art display. And it also kind of clues you in on who Journey is.
Who is Journey?
Journey, Imperfect Faith Community. The monologue I'm going to do is from a large work called Talking With by Jane Martin. I always wanted to live in a McDonald's. I could stay there all day. I've done it too. I've walked the 7 miles with the sun just on its way, sat on the curb at 5 minutes to 7. First one there and the last to leave. I saw me a man healed by a Big Mac. I have. I was just sitting there. Oh, they don't never move you on. It's a sacred law in McDonald's. You can sit there for 100 years. It's the only place in this world. And this fella come on in. He was dressed real nice. He had on a bright tie and nice white socks and a brand new baseball cap. And he had him that disease. Oh, you know the one. I mean, that cerebral walrus, they call it. Well, anyway, he had hemococcle and his poor old body was going 2 speeds at the same time. We got him a cup of coffee and he sat down. And Jimmy, the towhead cook, knew him, and brought him over a Big Mac. Well, the sick fella ate about half of that burger and he was just sitting there suffering those tremors. When a couple of ain'ts march out of that burger, well, there ain't no ain'ts in McDonald's. No way. The Lord sent them ain'ts. Well, fella looked right sharp at the burger and a bunch more ain'ts march on out of there. Well, he pitched himself up out of that chair and hit his head on the floor loud. Thwack! It was like a bowling ball. A drop and made you half sick to hear it. Well, we run over, but he was cold out. Well, the serving kid's so cute. They watered him, stuck a touch of pepper up his nostril, and slapped him right smart, and up he jumped, standing and grinning. We said, "How are you?" we said. He said, "Well, I'm fine." And he was fine. He walked out of that McDonald's straight as a pole bean poplar, whooped and hollered, called himself the Circle Line bus, and rode off Muhammad Ali Boulevard just a singing and a grinning like he was the king of the Pharaohs. Healed by a Big Mac, and I saw it.
And next we have performing from the sanctuary, David Weiss.
The song I'm going to do for you is one of my favorites. It's called A Rose Among the Thorns. While strolling through the fields of time, there are many things to see, but nature is the greatest sight that there could ever be. The greatest of them all to me is how the world was formed and why the roses have to live. Each day among the thorns, one day among a world of thorns, a rose began to grow. It was the greatest gift from God this world will ever know. It was the will of God to show that since the world was formed, there had to be a rose to live. And I among the thorns, Along the road to Jericho, a man was left to die. There like a petal from a rose, 2 men had passed him by. A neighbor and a friend came by and saw his lifeless form. With love he took good care of him. A rose among the thorns. One day among a world of thorns, a rose began to grow. It was the greatest gift from God this world will ever know. It was the will of God to show that since the world was formed, there had to be a rose to live and die among the thorns. 2,000 years will soon be gone since God looked down in love. There in the town of Bethlehem, a rose began to bud. It lived to bloom until one day was crushed with awful frown. And then with love from God above was moved to higher ground. One day among a world of thorns a rose began to grow. It was the greatest gift from God this world will ever know. It was the will of God to show that since the world was formed, there had to be a rose to live and die among the thorns. There had to be a rose to live and die among the thorns.
You might be Baptist if you wake up in the middle of the night craving fried chicken and interpret that feeling as a call to the ministry. My pastor's hiding his head. Please welcome to the stage tonight Betty Appel from Congregational. Is that correct?
Congregational
Church of Austin. Thank you, Betty Appel.
I saw your eyes, your wonderful eyes, with love, light, and tenderness beaming. He thrilled me through and filled me too with wonderful dreams I am dreaming. No need to speak, no more shall I seek, for my heart has told me their meaning, and love has come at last I know. Your eyes have told me so.
Now please welcome Sherry Jameson from the Sanctuary.
Well, I own a cafe in Austin, Texas, Annie's Cafe, and we prepare this simple olive tapenade as an appetizer every now and then, so I'm going to demonstrate how to do it. You have to use your imagination a little bit. We're going to pretend that this is a complete food processor. So the most important thing about this recipe is that you always use fresh ingredients, and it's going to taste fantastic, and it's very easy. You want to use a 1 1/3 cup of olives, and you just pour them into your processor. You take a tablespoon of garlic, fresh garlic that you've chopped up, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, fresh thyme and parsley, 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And that's it. You put it in the food processor, you blend it up. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you had a chance to taste it, but I did have it in the back. Thank you. You can serve it on anything. So I like to serve it on crostinis, and basically you just take a French roll and you cut it about a 1/4 inch thick. You want to brush it with olive oil, put it in the oven on 350 for about 10 minutes, and you're good to go. That's it.
I don't know if those of you in the back can smell the garlic. So we'll just pause for a moment. Some olfactory entertainment. And now welcome to the stage, please, Bill Phillips from Congregational Church of Austin.
I think I'll take this down. Yeah. Over here. That's more exercise than I normally do. We're going to use that word gringo again, and I should say something about it. We don't appreciate this until we walk across our border and go south. And then we realize that it's us, it's we who are called gringo. And the word can be used in anger, it can be used as just a description in everyday conversation. But primarily it means not us, them, and refers to people who are them. And you suddenly begin to appreciate what it feels like to be considered them. But this is about getting along. This is about all of us getting along. And I like the sound of gringo bingo. So I will read this, not quite as a comedian. What was it? Anyway, I won't play comedy here. But it's gringo bingo. Why the fuss? What do we care what they think of us? Don't even ask how we feel about them. It'll just be the same thing again and again. I thought good neighbors were the people next door. Instead, they are nations with weapons of war. Why can't they have gardens and dig in the soil and not just talk about selling us oil? Did everyone hear me say, tear down that wall? But we put up another and said, build that one tall. There are no grand prizes for this kind of game. It's a matter of knowing what comes with the name. If my name is O'Malley and yours is Perez, we both play bridge better than Exxon Valdez. If your square says B30 and mine I-25, let's get it together and be glad we're alive. Who calls the numbers and who holds the cards? Let's put all the beans on both of our yards.
And now please welcome Rick Botts and Brent Bowden from the Sanctuary. Hooray!
Juggling. Juggling. Juggling 2 balls.
Wow.
Juggling 3 balls. Now, share. The team will now juggle 2 balls while eating an apple. May I have a drum roll, please? The team will now juggle 3 pins while eating an apple.
And now please welcome to the stage from Congregational Church of Austin, Bill Beardall.
I fear that some of you might have heard me recall on a different occasion I came to learn this song a little differently. But the best I can recall it now, I heard this while languishing in the Orleans Parish Jail on vagrancy charges back in 1924. It's approximate. I know. I went down to St. James Infirmary, saw my baby there. She was stretched out on a long white table, so cold, so sweet, so fair. Let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she can search this whole world over and never find a sweet man like me. Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-bra-bra-bra-bra. Hey, ba-ba-dee-dee. Ba-ba-ba-dee. Ba-ba-dee-doo-zap. I've gotta do. When I die, bury me in straight leg shoes and a box back coat and a Stetson hat. Put a $20 gold piece on my watch chain so the boys will know I died standing pat. I went down to St. James Infirmary. I saw my baby there. She was stretched out on a long white table, so sweet, so cool, so fair.
Final entertainment, would you please welcome to the stage Larry Buffoon from University Baptist Church.
Hooray! Hooray! What a great evening we've had. But now, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a mysterious visitor from the East. The all-seeing, all-knowing, all-wise soothsayer, the omniscient, proficient, and all-sufficient used car salesman, and former prayer consultant to Governor Perry on his commission for drought and global warming. None other than Carmax the Magnificent.
Carmax, great to be here. Thank you on this wonderful Convergence night. That is what we're doing. We're converging. Is that what you Baptists do occasionally? Excellent. Carmack's just so happy he didn't have to follow the cow jokes. Thank you. Are you ready to do this, sir? You know what you're doing? Did you read your lines? You're kind of stumbling. I've never worked with you before. Can you handle this? All right, if you're over 40, you know the bit. Please go along with the bits. Please laugh at the bit. Thank you very much.
I hold in my hand the envelopes. Any child of 4 can see they are hermetically sealed. They have been stored in a mayonnaise jar in the trunk of a '67 Ford Pinto since noon today. No one knows the answer to these questions, but you, in your magnificent wisdom, will ascertain the answers without ever having seen the questions. Are you ready for the first question?
Are you talking to me? Yes, yes, I'm ready. Thank you, thank you. Not bad, you really did study. Excellent, excellent job. Okay, very good. Carmax, need quiet, please. I have the first envelope. That's good, isn't it? An abomination before the Lord.
An abomination before the Lord.
What do you call this year's Texas OU game? Orange blood.
Orange blood.
It's like a little UT theme here. What's the brand name of John Boehner's makeup? You didn't see that one coming. You didn't see that one coming. Oh, that's a tough one. Okay.
Amelia.
What was my reaction when my 80-year-old mother leaned over in the pew and asked me, what in the world is a UBC sex camp? remember that morning, Mom? Etched in my brain forever. Thank you, Abe. Appreciate it. Okay. This is a tough one. Okay, there it is. Sasquatch, a UBC associate member, and a gay Republican.
Sasquatch, a UBC associate member, and a gay Republican.
Name 3 things you always hear of but rarely see. Carmack's dedicating this one to Brent Bowden. Watching the grass grow.
Watching the grass grow.
Name something more exciting than watching the UBC kickball game. I was on the team, we were a little challenged, it wasn't pretty, I can say that. Gosh darn it, flippin' heck.
Gosh darn it, flippin' heck.
What are the worst cuss words ever uttered by Midge Nance? The UBC Discernment Committee, the UBC Challenge Committee, and the Soviet Union.
The UBC Discernment Committee, the UBC Challenge Committee, and the Soviet Union.
Name 3 things we're all glad to see on the ash heap of history. Beowulf.
Beowulf.
What does Paul Taylor consider a little light reading?
I didn't understand it until I saw the movie.
Okay. All right. Facebook, Solitaire, and Angry Birds.
Facebook, Solitaire, and Angry Birds.
What are the 3 most popular iPhone apps used during Larry's sermons?
Who's the Angry Birds?
I was going to leave that one out, but this morning, the guy says he's rooting against the Texas Rangers. How could you do that? All right, bring it on. Oh. Edwin Hubble, Albert Einstein, and David Govinda.
Edwin Hubble, Albert Einstein, and David Govinda.
Name 2 brilliant physicists and Janie Govinda's yard man. We can kid. Teasing is love. Love is good.
I hold in my hand the last...
I thought we were converging here. Harmony. People.
We agree.
Fine. May a diseased yak create a shovel-ready project in your front lawn. A Cherokee, Joe Biden, and Rick Perry. Name a Jeep, a Veep, and a Creep.
Katie's still married to me.
Who's doing the yard work then? And was Tom?
Tom, you gonna close us?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's really unfair to call me up to pray after CarMax. But I would like my hat back. That's what we wear in the Congregational Church. St. Paul said in 1 Corinthians, there are a number of gifts, but the same Spirit that gives all those gifts. And we saw some good gifts on display this evening. So let us give thanks to the Baptist Church for hosting, all the folks from the 4 churches that helped plan this event, everybody who brought food, and all the gifts that were shared this evening, those up here on stage and those just in all the conversation in the table. So let's pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this evening, for the opportunity to be here, to share with one another, to get to know one another. And we give you thanks for the gift of song, the gift of humor, the gift of poetry, the gift of children. We give you thanks for this life, and we pray that we may continue to appreciate your love and appreciate one another as neighbors and as Christians in Christ's church. We give you thanks. Amen.
Amen.